Three, two, one, and we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Justin Thomas James, and you are here on the winter solstice at 5:43 p.m. this evening, EST. It became officially winter. So I thought I would celebrate the winter by doing a few narrations for you. We've got the Discord happening right now. There's a Discord chat available. Justin reads Christmas. I see Bjorn is there. Hello, Bjorn. Good to see you. I just woke up from a short little nap, so I'm feeling pretty mellow. How are you doing, Bjorn? Hello, Carly. You just finished packing. Oh no, I was hoping I would read to you while you packed. Where are you going? Why are you packing? Le chip beef. Bonjour, le chip. Le beef de le chip. It's good to see you all here. I'm just going to do a quick posty post on the Facebook and make sure that people know what's going on. I have to get everything all set up. Like I said, I was kind of napping for a little bit, so I'm I wasn't quite prepared, not as prepared as I could have been, so bear with me here. But hey, so I've got some nice Christmas music going. I'm going to post it. There you go. Nice, mellow, instrumental Christmas music, the classics. So I got that playing in the background. So if you guys want to listen along, you are more than welcome to do that. Naps are great. Couldn't agree more. Just chilling out at the moment. Been a long day. Well, it was a long Friday. It is the weekend. So hopefully you get tomorrow off in preparation for Christmas. Does everybody celebrate Christmas here? Is that, if not, totally cool. I think I am doing a Christmas song or Christmas story or two, but it's not all going to be Christmas stuff. I'm actually pulling up a story by Mr. Harlan Guthrie. I think he's got some cool stuff that might fit. I actually honestly have no idea what short story I'm going to do by him. But let's see. Might be, I think his stuff is pretty dark, which is perfect. I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to listen to a scary, spookier story around Christmas time. Fast and Different Darkness, Hide and Seek. Good luck. You know what? I'm just going to read his most recent one. It's called The River. But I'm not going to do that one first. I'm going to open with a Christmas story. I think. I'm definitely going to be closing with, what's that called? The big Christmas one, A Night Before Christmas, not Nightmare Before Christmas. Let's see. You are a Christmas celebrator. Le chip beef is Christmas. 1000 man. Hello, 1000 man. Bringing PlayStation and tablet so you can watch YouTube and use Discord. Just depends if you have anything. When do you leave? Are you leaving tonight, Carly? And you're going to Ontario? You'll be in another time zone. That's exciting. You're West Coast right now, right? I'm leaving at 7:30. Oh, I have so many questions. Are you excited? That's the big one. That's the important one. You're the East Coast. Oh yeah, you're Nova Scotia, right? Halifax? Is that correct? I feel like I haven't really gotten to know you guys well. Um, it's tough on the streams to watch the Discord, and also we're not really interacting on on the streams, right? So you don't really get a chance to say like, "Hey, what's your deal? What are you doing? What are you looking forward to?" Flight anxiety. I've never had that. I've always been excited about flights. I love the feeling of taking off. Um, and I wonder if it's kind of the same feeling. I've heard a theory that I think it's Mel Robinson or something says that anxiety is the exact same physiological feeling as excitement, but it's just interpreted in two different ways. So I wonder if we have the exact same feeling inside of us, but I just label it as excitement and you label it as anxiety. Who knows? Mel Robbins, that's her name. You didn't start flying until 2 years ago. Yeah, I could imagine that having an effect. Hello, Chris Sparks. Welcome to the very mellow party. I'm not drinking eggnog, unfortunately, but it's a steam whistle, which is a Toronto brewery. So, cheers, everyone. Happy winter solstice. Mmm. Mmm. Can really taste the nutmeg. Bjorn says, I was afraid of flying as a kid, but you think the reason was that adults around you thought that you would be and kept talking about how they hope you didn't get it. That's interesting. That's like you were fulfilling the prophecy almost. It's really interesting how parents and the people around you can influence how you develop in ways like that. Like if you don't believe your kid is going to do well in school and you kind of label your kid as like unruly or unable to learn, then they're not going to learn well unless they've got people who support them and tell them a different story. I think the cliche example, the most common example of something like that is when a kid falls and hits their head. They turn, I'm sure you've seen this, where they turn and they like look for a reaction. And if you like get down on your knees and like, oh my God, oh no, are you okay? Then they're gonna cry. They're definitely gonna cry because that's their cue that, oh, I'm supposed to be hurt. I'm supposed to be sad. Here's wall wail. But then if you don't do that, if you don't cry, you're like, whoa, wow, what a good spill, then they'll just be fine. Hello, Mike Kyle. Welcome. Wow, I'm surprised so many people have come to hang out. I feel very blessed and happy that you guys are all here and want to spend time with little old me and each other. And I mean, really, I'm not surprised actually that you want to spend time with this fantastic community because we got some lovely folks here. 1000 man, who are you in the Facebook group? I think I know everybody else, but I can't remember you. Green Hearts from Chris Sparks. Oh, it's so nice to hang out. It's also nice to hang out, like I was kind of mentioning earlier, but it's nice to hang out on a chill sort of, we can just talk, we can relax. It's not a performance. I love performing, I love getting into character, but I think it's nice every once in a while just to be myself and not worry about getting to the end of a story or game so quickly. Nice says Le Chip Beef, and the triangle like this. This is what he's doing. If he was in person, he would have said nice. Chill stream with Justin. It's gonna be fun. All right. Well, oh, you're John Dunbar. Our dances. I'm sorry about that. I'm so sorry that I jumped on that. But it's like probably something that you hear like every day. But I'm glad you're still with us. We didn't scare you off. Yeah. This is, oh, you haven't been hanging out lately? I'm just gonna check the YouTube quickly, see if anybody is hanging out there. If you are watching YouTube and you want to be a part of the conversation and recommend stories, come on over to the Discord. We're just hanging out. It's nice and relaxed, chill. Hello, Aisha. I see you in the YouTube there. Put on some nice mellow Christmas music. I've linked it in the Discord, what I'm listening to. And it kind of adds to the atmosphere. It's influencing my reading. If you are watching this after the fact, then you don't have the music in the background, but you can put it on as well. Just open another tab. You're painting and listening. What are you painting? I didn't know you painted. Maybe I'll just keep both open in case someone does want to have the chat. Live chat. Let's see. There we go. That works. And then I can pop it out. Pop out the chat. Beautiful. Old school ones know the phrase dumb bear. Boo. Did that like get to you when people called you that? Let's see. Okay, stored the I almost said non-frustrated. Stored the non-frosted cookies in your oven to keep the cat out. And I had a moment where I thought I shouldn't, as I knew I had a pizza I'd make in a few days. Guess what? You forgot to take them out. Oh no! So then, are they burnt? Oh no. I did some Christmas baking last night. It was a very wholesome evening with my mother and my cousin and my uncle. And I was probably the least helpful of everybody. But it was still nice. My uncle is a expert at making cookies. He's not like he doesn't like he can follow like the recipes and stuff, but as far as like actually like getting his hands dirty and getting in there and making the cookies and like rolling the dough and stirring the stuff, and he is fantastic. My mom was kind of like the manager, and my uncle was the like star worker. Yes, they were burnt. They died. But the ones you frosted after baking them Wednesday were safe in a container on the counter. Oh, perfect. Well, that's good. Hey, you know what? You can always just frost them anyways, and then people won't be able to tell at first glance that they're burnt. Just a thought. Rest in peace, cookies. Rest in peace. Okay, well, what do you say I start reading a story? I feel so low in this chair. Look at me. I feel like a little kid. Maybe I should just angle my camera. That'll work. I feel like I've got very bad posture in this chair. There, if I sit up like that, I look like I've got better posture. There we go. It's better for narrating too if I've got better posture. So I'm gonna try to maybe. How do you sit with good posture? Do you guys have any good posture tips for me? Yes, the new Uber smoked flavor. Uber smoked flavor. Nearly incinerated. Oh God. Aisha is painting her stepdaughter's bedroom, and she's getting a bedroom makeover for Christmas. Is it a surprise bedroom makeover? Or is it like she knows that it's happening? Because I could imagine it like working as a surprise makeover bedroom. Just she'd have to stay like somewhere else for like a couple days, and then she gets home. Oh my God, my bedroom! This is cool. So we got double chat going. Okay. All right. Let's see. Carly, why don't we let you decide? I've got 3 stories. One of them I have never heard of before. And I think it's a very like religious-y Christmas one. It's called The Gift of the Magi. And I honestly just picked it. I looked up a list of Christmas short stories that weren't just for kids, and I just picked it because of the name. Magi is kind of cool, but I doubt it's like Magi who, sling spells, magic missile and stuff. Judging by the picture, but who knows? So you get to pick. So it's either that one, Gift of the Magi, The River by Harlan. That's his little short story that he wrote not too long ago. Or I've got another one that I'm kind of excited for. It's called First Day of Winter. Very appropriate for today. And it is by Brees. DJ Pancake is his name. But apparently it's a really good one. So which do you choose, Carly? I'm letting you pick this time. If you are listening. Okay, so feet are flat. That's good. Okay, shoulders back. Okay, so then I'll have to adjust. The third. Okay. All right, perfect. So this is good. But I feel so far from my computer now. Okay. You have chosen wisely. Yes. 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 Beautiful. Ooh, so it is a surprise. She's at grandma's. And she did not go over the bridge and through the woods to get there. To grandmother's house. If you care about posture. I kind of do care about posture. I've had this bone, this one vertebra in my neck that has just randomly in university started jutting out quite a bit. And my sister, who's a physiotherapist, says it's because of poor posture, which might make sense. But I'm quite tall. I'm 6'6". So if I don't look after my posture, I think after a while it's going to lead to a lot of back problems and knee problems and just body problems in general. Okay. Your posture is no better than the incinerated cookies. Well, maybe this will be a thing. It's it sounds like Chris is cool with her posture the way it is, and that's totally fine. But it keeps leaning and pushing on your diaphragm. Yes. Well, that's the thing. That's why it's good for a narrating. Another thing that pushes on my diaphragm, and I don't need to tell you guys this, but undoing my belt and undoing my fly. Just saying, I'm not going to show you guys, but it allows me to sit up straight. And because if I don't undo it, then it will tighten and the buckle will dig into right where my diaphragm is. So then I can't really use it as well. So if I'm going to be reading for a long time, I'm just sitting with my fly open. It's kind of funny. Let's see here. Nice. Butterflyless stream. I can say a bunch of one-liners to clip and vid to MP3 and upload quoted lines as Justin's original holiday ringtones and notification sounds to a phone app like Zedge. Chip, that sounds like a fantastic idea. We will do a segment after I read this short story. Elongate that spine, says Aisha. It will help me hold back the hands of time. DDP. I don't understand what all of this means. Okay, elongate that spine will help you hold back the hands of time. I'm so bad with references. What is it? Can you clarify on that there, Aisha? Yes, yes. Sometimes we wear no pants for our streams. Very rarely. Very rarely. Pajama pants are more common. Okay. I think it's time. I have another sip of my beer. You know what? I want to get to reading, but I'm just enjoying talking to you guys so much that it's hard for me to like be like, okay, now I got to focus on what I do for work. I'm really much enjoying this. Really much. I think that we should do stuff like this more often. I would like to do stuff more like this more often, even if it's just for an hour. Um, keep it mellow. I do actually. There is another Discord chat that I'm a part of. It's the Sound Booth Theater Discord chat, which is the company that I produce audiobooks with. And sometimes there we have a narration channel that I will go in there and just narrate whatever I'm working on. Usually like a fantasy sci-fi book, and people can just come, listen, leave comments. Okay. Yes, please, says Chris. I'm assuming she means to do this more often. Just mellow, chill nights, maybe do some reading. Justin Hangouts. Yeah, I just like this, man. Just like this. All right. I keep on doing that. I think I've done that maybe 15 times where I say all right and then I have another thought and then I just did it and now the thought is very meta and the all right has led to me talking about how I say all right a lot as if I'm going to do some work. How's my posture looking? I reached a point where I wasn't noticing it, and then all of a sudden I noticed it, and I was like, "Wow, I've had good posture there for a little while." So you let me know if I start slouching. You guys say, hey, Justin, get your act together, get that spine up." Yo, it's John Regan. Yo, yo, yo. What up, Johnny? It's okay. You're hopped up on paint fumes. Diamond Dallas page? Oh, is that like the Dallas Buyers Club? Or the wrestler? I don't know. You have 3 books from Rift from a friend and you never read. You listen to actual play or audiobooks. Hey, that's amazing. Let me know if you want an audiobook code. Well, actually, I should be more sparing with my audiobooks. Sorry, I need to take that back. Because I know that I would feel bad about giving you a code and not everybody a code here, and I don't have enough codes to give to everybody. But what audiobooks do you listen to? Does anybody else here listen to audiobooks? Has anybody here listened to one of my audiobooks? But more importantly, have you listened to an audiobook that you really liked that likely wasn't done by me? I need to narrate more short stories because if so, the website that I upload to, it's called ACX. If I like every story that I upload and then I do a royalty share with, I get codes for, and then I can share those codes with people and people can download audiobooks. But if I like upload like a 20-minute audiobook, um if I did like one of Harlan's short stories as an audiobook, it would be like a $2 audiobook, but I would still get 25 codes to give out to people. So it's kind of cheating the system, but not actually cheating the system because they take a massive cut of our audiobook royalties. So I think it kind of adds up if they give us $25 worth of free codes. What is Ricos, John Dunbar? Marathon American Gods. Oh, nice. Neil Gaiman. He narrates his own books, I'm pretty sure, right? Listen to a few while working. Mostly listen to the RPGs. Yeah, you know what? It's like for a while I kind of like wondered what the why people were interested in watching us role play or listening to us role play. I think a lot more people listen to us role play than watch us. Am I right with that? Um but now that I've been narrating audiobooks, I totally understand like having a long form, like lots of hours to listen to. Um like because like people drive a ton, people commute a ton, people just have like downtime where they're just relaxing or whatever, or they're painting a room. Like there are so many opportunities I've started to realize where you can listen to an audiobook, where you can listen to someone else you know talking or playing a role playing game or whatever, and you can be taking in that content. And we produce audiobooks that are like maybe 10-12 hours long. And I was just speaking with a trucker yesterday on Facebook, and he'd listened to one of these audiobooks, and he said, like, when's the next one coming out? I was like, dude, we just like released this one. Like, that's going to be a while before the next one comes out. He's like, damn, like I get through it like in a day. I actually have to like stop like every few hours just so that, and like I'll listen to music or whatever just so that I don't get through it too quickly. um and that's like they're really trying to stretch out these audiobooks that we produce that take a long time to produce. It takes a long time to produce 10-12 hour audiobooks. um but so like when it comes to like a 10-part campaign, Dungeons and Dragons, like the chapters of the Undefeated or Call of Cthulhu or whatever, that's 30 hours of content, which is still shorter than like Brandon Sanderson's Words of Radiance, or like one of his Stormlight Archive books. Still shorter than that. It's a good chunk of time to be taking in a story, and when you're listening to it back to back, I think it really adds a lot. So I guess I'm kind of coming to a question for you guys. Um, what are ways that we could make listening easier for you? How could we make it easier for you to consume the audio? I know Aisha's been doing the um, or had been. I don't know. I haven't really been keeping track, but she's been doing the podcast, which I don't know if you're still doing it, Aisha, but the amount that you did, like, amazing. Like, we're very, very grateful for that. Um, so I leave that question with you, and I'm going to jump into the chat and just read because I was kind of in my own world there for a bit. Marathon American Gods, listen to a few while working, mostly listen to the RPGs. Yeah, try to read a few audiobooks, but ended up losing track of the story too often, sadly. If you don't read it yourself, it seems it doesn't stick well. Yeah, I can understand that. I need to listen to books quite a bit. I find that when I'm driving, I pay a lot better attention than, like, if I'm doing a long drive, than if I'm like listening before going to bed. My dad listens before going to bed, and I don't know how he does it because I fall asleep and then I wake up and the audiobook's still going, but it's like 8 hours further in. It's so hard to find my spot. That said, Audible has a sleep timer on the app, so you can set like, oh, just play for half an hour and then stop, which is a fantastic feature that I have not used yet. You can make it similar to the XP system. Recommendations, you do the listening. Can you elaborate on that, John? I'm not sure what you mean, what you're referring to at the XP. It's been too long since I was talking about that, probably. You were driving a lot, listened to actual play podcasts. Fantastic, Chip. Tend to watch more, at least when you can watch live, but I have listened to okay. You have to listen, Mike, and then watch. You're at work, right? You will listen mostly, then watch while shots are rendering. Oh, while shots are rendering, you do video work, Carly? Oh, wait, you do photography and Adobe Illustrator stuff, and that all requires rendering? Question. I can listen to my smartphone at work, and I listen to podcasts, RPGs. Invictus hosts are incredible, tapping into an actual character. I've been through. Oh, thank you. For all the sake of comedy or crew, I found taps deeper into the believability and bring a lot of life to these stories where most others are just friends gaming together with a lack of production. Well, thank you very much. That means a lot for you to say that, actually, because that's that was kind of a splitting point for us. Which unfortunately we didn't all agree on. I was happy with both paths. Harlan very much is for production, and it's no question why. He's a fantastic performer, and like he's such a natural at role playing and coming up with really engaging, deep storylines that it kind of feels like if we were just to play, just as friends, like even though it'd be, a little less stressful, a little bit more relaxed, we would be missing out on opportunities to really add to a production value. I'm doing a horrible job catching up. I feel like more comments are coming than I'm getting through, so I'm just gonna plow through them. Stormlight books are crazy long. Nobody else is up there. Figure why not? No, I say, listen, you know what? I think that I'm a believer in the fact that audio will help you focus. I don't know. Actually, I get really distracted when I listen to things. New job in January. Oh, you won't be able to listen in January, Chris? Listening to Nerd Poker. Waiting for players to find the right. I feel like I've got to just cut through comments here. Too many. Yeah, give that sleep timer a try, Bjorn. Not for 10 weeks. Welcome to the Justin Thomas James read stuff. Today's episode, I'm going to be reading comments that I'm trying to catch up with. Do I have audiobook recommendations? Yes. Kingkiller Chronicles by Brandon Sanderson was what really got me into audiobooks. I love Michael Kramer and Kate Redding doing their readings. They are amazing. And they're fantastic fantasy stories. So if you're into that, excellent. If I were to recommend one of my audiobooks, I would say my most recent releases, it's called Dragon Seed. It is a lit RPG, which is a niche genre of fantasy, sci-fi, more fantasy. It's kind of like Ready Player One, the whole concept of, main character plays a video game. The video game, a lot of stuff happens in it, and it's important. Similar to that. But the reason I recommend it is because I composed music for it. I probably wouldn't recommend it because it's really well written, and I think it's a great story. I think it takes some time for people to get into lit RPG. It's not for everybody because it is so niche. It's kind of unless you're already in the genre, it can take a while for you to actually become invested in characters that are playing in a video game, right? Because it feels like, well, they're just in a video game. There's no real stakes, right? I think this author does a good job in making the stakes. But anyways, Dragon Seed, I'd recommend that. Kingkiller Chronicles, and also boom, bada bing, bada boom, boom, bada boop, bada ba 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 biddy bidoo, bada doo, bada boo boo. Patrick Rothfuss, Name of the Wind, boom, fantastic audiobook narrated by Nick Podell. That guy can do any accent, but he's also just got a fantastic narrating voice and cadence that just kind of lulls you into listening and engaging with the story. Absolutely fantastic. I listened to the whole thing driving across Canada when I moved back from Alberta, and it was amazing. When did this start? Hey, Colin! A while ago. I haven't read a single story yet. I'm just reading comments, and I'm having a blast. So let's just keep this going. Yes. Is streaming stressful? Yes, streaming is stressful. Streaming is stressful when we don't really have a plan. And lately it's been tough because there's been so much up and down, and like Chris has been really focused on work and family, and that's amazing. But he's had less time to, work as a narrator, or not a narrator. What am I talking about? He's had less time to come and play on the stream. So like, we haven't really set any goals for 10-part campaigns, which are a lot less stressful because we already know the characters and we already know the story, that it's a lot easier to just jump back in. there have been a lot of one-shots where we've literally thought of them the day of, and when you don't know what you're going to be playing, like it's improv, it's great, I love improvising, but it does take a toll on you at the end of the day when you're, just you don't know how things are going to go, especially if you're running the game, because then you have to come up with how it's going to go. Harlan's fantastic at it. Harlan doesn't even need an idea. He can just be like 10 minutes before the game, he can come up with something. He could just start a game and just like say, okay, let's go. I think Joe and I need a little bit more preparation. So unless like we really like take the initiative to say, I'm going to plan what I'm doing this Wednesday, it can be very stressful. You'll only be able to listen, no active watching. Oh, okay, that's not too bad. Justin reads comments. I'm too polite. I know I am, but I'm enjoying this. That's the thing. I'm not like doing this to make everybody happy. I'm doing this because I am really enjoying getting to know you guys on a deeper level, which I don't get to do as often, or I haven't done lately as often. And I think it's time to change that. Let's see. Let's take a look at the YouTube comments. Talk is Jericho. I've never heard about that. Thought about doing it, Jim. Okay, YouTube chat's a little bit tamer. Great. Well, you guys are happy. I've reached the bottom of the chat. This is excellent. Thank you guys so much for joining. That's it. No, I'm just joking. Okay. So this is called The First Day of Winter. A story by Brees DJ Pancake. I have no idea what to expect from this story. I literally looked at the list, looked at the cover. There was a fox on the cover, and I was like, sick, that looks good. I don't know if there's going to be a fox in this story, but there's winter. Merry early Christmas to you, Lyndon Deacon. Welcome to the party. All right, here we go. Oh, I lost my page. Off to a wonderful start. Here we go. Actually, I'm going to pause the music for this. I don't know if Gloria is the correct song. First Day of Winter by Brees DJ Pancake. Hollis sat by his window all night, staring at his ghost in glass, looking for some way out of the tomb Jake had built for him. Now he could see the first blue blur of morning growing behind bare tree branches, and beyond them, the shadows of the farm. The work was done. Silos stood full of corn, hay bales rose to the barn's roof, and the slaughter stock had gone to market. It was done for figures in a bank, for debts, and now corn stubble leaned in the fields among stacks of fodder laced with frost. He could hear his parents shuffling about downstairs for their breakfast, his old mother giggling, her mind half gone from blood too thick in her veins, his father now blind and coughing. He had told Jake on the phone they'll live a long time. Jake would not have his parents put away like furniture. Hollis asked Jake to take them into his parsonage at Harper's Ferry. The farm was failing. Jake would not have room. The parsonage was too modest, his family too large. Bear with me, I'm just going to change the size of the text here because I'm sitting with good posture. I'm a lot further back. Here we go. He went downstairs for coffee. His mother would not bathe, and the warm kitchen smelled of her as she sat eating oatmeal with his father. The lids of the blind man's eyes hung half closed, and he had not combed his hair. It stuck out in tufts where he had slept on it. "Cereal's hot," his mother giggled, and the crescent of her mouth made a weak grin. "Your daddy's burnt his mouth." "I ain't hungry." Hollis poured his coffee, leaned against the sink. The old man turned his head a little toward Hollis, bits of meal stuck to his lips. "You gone hunting like I asked?" Hollis sat his cup in the sink. "Thought I'd work on the car. We can't be with no way to town all winter because you like squirrel meat." The old man ate his cereal, staring ahead. Won't be Thanksgiving without wild game. Won't be Thanksgiving till Jake and Millie gets here, he said. They say last night they ain't coming down, his father said, and the old woman looked at Hollis dumbly. I gotta work on the car, Hollis said, and went toward the door. Car's been setting too long, the old woman yelled. You be careful of snakes. Outside, the air was sharp, and when the wind whipped against his face, he gasped. The sky was low, gray, and the few Angus he had kept from the market huddled near the feeder beside the barn. He threw them some hay, brought his tool chest from the barn, began to work on the car. He got in to see if it would start, grounded. As he sat behind the wheel, door open, he watched his father come down from the porch with his cane. The engine's grinding echoed through the hollows, across the hills. Hollis's knuckles were bloody, scraped under the raised hood, and they stung as he turned the key harder, gripped the wheel. His father's cane tapped through the frosty yard, the still of December, and came closer to Hollis. The blind man's mouth was shut against the cold, the dark air so close to his face, and Hollis stopped trying the engine and got out. You can tell she's locking up, the blind man faced him. This ain't a tractor. Hollis walked around, looked under the hood, saw the hairline crack along one side of the engine block. His father's cane struck the fender, and he stood still and straight beside his son. Hollis saw his father's fingers creeping along the grill, holding him steady. She sounded locked up, he said again. Yeah. Hollis edged the man aside, shut the hood. He didn't have the tools to put the engine and had no engine to replace it. Maybe Jake will loan you the money for a new car. No, the old man said. We'll get by without bothering Jake. Put it on the cuff. You think the bank would give us another nickel? Jake has too much to worry with as it is. I asked him to take you all last night. Why? I asked him and Molly to take you in, and he said no. I'm stuck here. I can't make my own way for fighting a losing battle with this damn farm. Farm's making your way. Hell, everybody's trying for something better anymore. When everybody's going one way, it's time to turn back. He rationalized in 5 directions. In the faded morning, the land looked scarred. The first snows had already come, melted, and sealed the hills with a heavy frost the sun could not soften. Cold winds had peeled away the last clinging oak leaves, left the hills a quiet gray-brown that sloped into the valley on either side. He saw the old man's hair bending in the wind. Come on inside. You'll catch a cold. You going hunting like I asked? I'll go hunting. As he crossed the last pasture, heading up toward the ridges, Hollis felt a sinking in his gut, a cold hunger. In the dry grass, he shuffled toward the fence line to the rising ridges and high stand of oaks. He stopped at the fence, looked down on the valley and the farm. A little at a time, Jake had sloughed everything to him, and now that his brother was away, just for this small moment, Hollis was happier. He laid down his rifle, crossed the fence, and took it up again. He headed deeper into the oaks until they began to mingle with the yellow pine along the ridge. He saw no squirrels, but sat on a stump with oaks on all sides, their roots and bottom trunks brushed clean by squirrel tails. He grew numb with waiting, with cold, taking a nickel from his pocket. He raked it against the notched stalk, made the sound of a squirrel cutting nuts. Soon enough, he saw a flick of tail, the squirrel's body hidden by the tree trunk. He tossed a small rock behind the tree, sent it stirring and rattling the leaves, watched as the squirrel darted to the broadside trunk. Slowly, he raised his rifle, and when the echoes cleared from the far hills across the valley, the squirrel fell. He field-dressed it, and the blood dried cold on his hands. Then he moved up the ridge toward the pine thicket, stopping every 5 minutes to kill until the thing drained him and his game bag weighed heavily at his side. He rested against a tree near the thicket, stared into its dark wavings of needles and branches there, almost blended with the red needles. Oh, There, almost blended with the red needles, lay a fox. He watched it without moving and thought of Jake, hidden, waiting for him to break, to move. In a fit of meanness, he snapped his rifle to his shoulder and fired. When he looked again, the fox was gone, and he caught a glimpse of its white-tipped tail drifting through the piney darkness. Hollis dropped the gun, sat against the tree, and when the wind snatched at his throat, fumbled to button his collar. He felt old and tired, worn and beaten, and he thought of what Jake had said about the state home he wanted the folks in. They starve them, he said, and they mistreat them, and in the end they smother them. For a moment, Hollis wondered what it would be like to smother them, and in the same moment caught himself, laughing. But a darkness had covered him, and he pulled his gloves on to hide the blood on his hands. He stumbled up, and grabbing his gun, ran between trees to the clearing nearest the fence, and when he crossed into the pasture, felt again a light mist of sweat on his face, a calming. He crossed the fields and fences, slogged across the bottoms and up to the house. Inside, his mother sat in the tiny back room, listening, with the husband, to quiet music on the radio. She came to Hollis, and he saw in her wide-set eyes a fear and knowledge, and he knew she could see what insanity had driven him to. He handed her the squirrels, dressed and skinned, from his game bag, and went to wash his hands. From the corner of his eye, he saw as she dropped the squirrels into soaking brine, saw her hand go up to her mouth, saw her lick a trace of blood and smile. Sitting at the table, he looked down at his empty plate, waited for the grace, and when it was said, passed the plate of squirrel. He had taken for himself only the forequarters and liver, leaving the meaty hinds and saddles. "Let her come from Jake." The old man held a hind quarter, gnawed at it. "And pictures of them." His mother got up, came back with a handful of snapshots. "He done fine for himself. Looky at the pretty church and the children," she said. The church was yellow brick and low, stained windows. In the picture, Jake stood holding his baby girl, named after their mother. His face was squinted with a smile. The old woman poked a withered finger into the picture. "That's my May Ellen," she said. "That's my favorite." "Shouldn't have favorites." His father laid down the bones. "Well, you got to face that he done for himself." Hollis looked out the window. The taste of liver, a taste like acorns, coated his mouth with cold grease. "Coming snow," he said. His father laughed. "Can't feel it. Jake says they're putting a little away now. Says the church is right nice people. They ain't putting away enough to hear him tell it." "Now," she said, "he's done fine. Just let it be." When the meal was finished, Hollis pushed back his chair. "I asked Jake to help by taking you all in. He said no." The old man turned away. Hollis saw tears in his blind eyes, and that his body shook from crying. He wagged his head again and again. The old woman scowled, and she took up the plates, carried them to the sink. When she came back, she bent over Hollis. "What did you figure he'd say? He's worked like an ox and done good, but he can't put us all up." The old man was still crying, and she went to him, helped him from the chair. He was bent with age, with crying, and he raised himself slowly, strung his flabby arms around the woman's waist. He turned to Hollis. "How could you do such a goddamn thing as that?" "We'll take our nap," she said. "We need our rest." Hollis went to the yard, to where his car stood, looked again at the cracked block. He ran his hand along the grill where the old man's hand had cleared away dust. The wind took his breath, beat on him, and the first light flecks of ice bounced from the fenders. The land lay brittle, open and dead. He went back to the house, and in the living room stretched out on the couch. Pulling the folded quilt to his chest, He held it there like a pillow against himself. He heard the cattle lowing to be fed, heard the soft rasp of his father's crying breath, heard his mother's broken humming of a hymn. He lay that way in the graying light and slept. The sun was blackened with snow, and the valley closed in quietly with a humming, quietly as an hour of prayer. The end. That is wow. That's interesting. Very very literature. Um what did you guys think? What did I just read? What was that all about? Um yeah, I'm curious. I've got my ideas on what, the symbolism is and what that story was about and what the main theme is and stuff. But I have I have ideas of it gave me a certain feeling. Oh, you got a call. You couldn't hear. Oh no. Yeah, there were parts of it that seemed weird. I don't get the okay. So what I got from it was the comparison to his brother Jake and him. And his brother Jake. What is that? I don't remember doing that. Oh, that's from a different. That's from a stream. Oh, okay. What am I even doing? Oh my god. Am I singing? Wow. Thank you for posting that, Johnny Reagan. Ray Reagan. Yeah, so I it's about parents. I was thinking about actually something that I've thought about a lot lately is this whole model of living that is very different from farm living, which is um kind of the nuclear family idea where you have the father, the mother, and the kids, two or three kids. The kids grow up, and then the kids move out, and then they start their own nuclear family, and the parents, get old together and um are kind of not a part of they're not a part of a big family anymore. They're just the two parents by themselves. And so Jake has followed the path of the nuclear family, which is very common nowadays. Nuclear family, yeah, that's a term, right? That's like father, mother, daughter, son, like four people in a family, like from the nuclear age, from the 60s. You mean nuclear? A nuclear family? Maybe nuclear, like nucleus. Is that, have I been saying it wrong this whole time? Anyways, so the that model is kind of an issue because the parents, they get old and like sure it's nice they're retired, they can, live with one another ideally until, they die. But people get dementia. People get physical conditions. They break hips and then they can't it's a lot of pressure for one, senior husband or wife to look after the other person. My own grandparents, my Oma recently passed away about a year ago, and my Opa is 95 years old, and he's still very much with it. But close to the end of my Oma's life, he was really struggling to look after her, and so my uncle Peter really reminds me of Hollis in this story. He has like he's got his own house and stuff. He's got his own family, but he was the one who was always helping them. He was there 3-4 times a week doing yard work and making sure like they were taking their pills, and he was really connected to them and linked, and he had to. And my opa just recently went into a nursing home as well, and so we've all been going and trying to spend as much time with him as possible. And it's not so bad. I think it's fine. But this whole idea of feeling like you can't escape your family, and if you are an only child, or if you have siblings that aren't as invested in the family as you are going to have a responsibility to look after your parents when they reach this point that Hollis's parents have reached. And Hollis's car, and not being able to drive his truck away, he can't escape. He can't escape his family, so he is forced to look after them. But he accepts it in the end. He goes in and he has a nap. Does that I'm not really explaining my thoughts well, but I'm hoping that I've captured the thought and what I feel like this story is expressing. Let's see. What do people think? That's your mom and dad for your dad's parents. Yeah, it's like someone needs to look after them. And back in the days that I think this story I think was at a transition point where, well, actually, farming houses, my understanding, I guess the stereotype or cliche would be that a farming family, like, you've got tons of people living in that house, and then yes, definitely some of the kids are going to be moving away, but some of the kids stay and they take over the farm, and then they still live there. Maybe they've got, a separate farmhouse on the property, but that community, that family is still very much connected. And the parents age, but then they're not alone to age. um so the middle folks, they'll probably have kids themselves, and they're kind of holding everything together, and then parents will die, then the new generation of parents will get old, and their kids, some will stay, some will go. That's kind of a model that I have in my head of farm life. And then um maybe the zeitgeist of this story is a period of time where that is changing, where Jake is, deciding to go a different path and doesn't want to look after his parents, doesn't want to have anything to do with his parents, just put them into a home. I don't have time to look after them. There's one line by the mother which I thought was really sweet but sad at the very same time. um Shouldn't have favorites. He got to face done for himself. Well, you got to face that he done fine for himself. So Jake has done so well for himself. He's moved out. He flew the coop, and he is, living his life. And I think Hollis says kind of bitterly, "I asked Jake to help by taking you in, and he said no." Jake is an asshole. He didn't want to help you guys. Um, and what does the mother say? Yeah, okay. The father says they ain't putting away enough to hear him tell it. And then the mother says, "Now he's done fine. Just let it be. Like, he doesn't need." Maybe this isn't what it's saying, but what I got was that um, the mother is like, "I'm happy for my son. My son has made it. Like he's doing really, really well." She's kind of blissfully unaware that Jake has kind of abandoned her, and Hollis is there to, like, actually make their lives better and livable. If Hollis wasn't there, then they wouldn't be able to function anymore. So Hollis is the one working to give them what they need. Let's see, someone's leaving. Oh, you got to go, Colin. Thanks for swinging by. Great to have you here. Let's see. Carly says, especially in older generations, families are large and nearby. Grandma was always in a farm family of 16 kids. Yeah, so that's I feel like that's um more common in farm families than in suburban or city families, for instance. Langdon says, whenever two people promise to love one another forever, one of them is always lying. Interesting. That's I think that originally when I first read that, that gave me like a certain like, oh no, I don't think so. I believe in love, but I know what it actually means now. It's like a riddle where like one of them's gonna die before the other one, and then well, maybe that's not it because I think you can still love someone after they've passed away. The frustration that Hollis feels is real. Like your parents do everything and go out of their way. Your dad's siblings don't realize how hard it is, especially the baby sister. She'll go off on your mom sometimes, like your mom isn't doing isn't enough simply because mom doesn't do things the sister's way. And yet the sister never steps up to do things. They were a farm family at one point. Funny fact. Wow. Okay. That's yeah. I mean, I feel for your parents there because it's um especially like that's tough that she'll give them a hard time and doesn't recognize it. Um Funny that they are a farm family as well. This was a fitting story, it seems. And it also kind of gives me a it's like a different sense of Christmas cheer, this story. I mean, it definitely gives off the winter sense, the snow and the family, but the way it showcases family is kind of more of a that's more the feeling that I've had around Christmas time more lately. This is not a kid's Christmas story filled with magic, but there is a warmth to this of kind of I think there's a beauty in that responsibility of, you know, this is the time of year that we need to be together for our families. And um I don't know. There's a feeling, but it's not coming to me in words. But yeah, basically this feels I connect with this over the past couple of years, even this year. So like my what I'm going to be doing, my opa's in the nursing home. So Monday is New Year or Christmas Eve. I'm going to be driving out, picking up my opa at 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to drive him over to my mom's, and then my mom is going to drive him back to the nursing home, and I'll get to hang out and drink and stuff like that. But it's just a part of the responsibility, the responsibility of making sure that the older generations in the family are looked after and they're going to be a part of the festivities is part of Christmas now. um it's that responsibility is tied into it, and it's not like I feel like resentful at all, or kind of like, oh well, why can't Cy do it or something like that. Cy's my brother. It's I have no problem with the responsibility to pick up my opa, because I think it's, well, I mean, I love my opa, that's the main thing. um but I think there's beauty to um the the fact that there needs to be that responsibility, I guess. Hmm. I don't know if I'm expressing what I'm trying to say well enough, but see, this is why I'm not a writer. This is why I'm a narrator. I narrate other people's things that they've already come up with the thoughts, and they've eloquently, poetically phrased lovely, beautiful thoughts, and then I just narrate them in my own voice. I don't come up with the thoughts. I don't come up with the stories. Let's see here. Farm families. 8 siblings, and your dad had 9. Holy macaroni. Farm families could care for the land, farm better. Yeah, and they've also got so much more room on the land. Like Chris's property is a farm technically, and they moved into it like this past year. But it's really cool. I love what they've done because Chris's parents live in one house as like the main farmhouse, and then the previous owners of the property made a second house, and that's where Chris and his wife and daughter live. And they're like right next to each other. The houses are right next to each other, so they've got enough space that they can, do their own thing, but they're obviously close enough that um if Chris needs his mom to look after his daughter, then she can do that very easily. And then when they start getting up in age, then Chris will be able to help his parents. And so I think it's a lovely setup. Mom's parents, 7 girls total, 1 of 5 biological father. Big family. Holy. Siblings too. Each year things come to the surface more. Langdon says his fiance died in 2014. You'll love her till you die, but she stopped when she passed. The one who dies is the one who is lying. That's that's true. That is a way of putting it. I think it's I'm really sorry to hear about your fiance. That's sad. Okay. We have a few more comments to get through here before I read the next story. Something like that seems to happen in every family, at least older generations. Rambling is good. I'm kind of rambling right now. It's Christmas all over again. Holidays are intense. Yeah. I feel very lucky because my current job is so flexible that I'm able to spend more time with family and spend more time with my opa and see him every week and make sure that we're still connecting and that he's stimulated. Because that's my one gripe about nursing homes is that they are boring. It's like they are in a different century, so many of them. And the one that my opa is at, it's fine, but it's just boring. So, being able to get out and being able to have the flexibility where I can go out and visit him, and we make music every time I go there. Like I'll sit down. It's really cute. I get there and I'll go to sit down and he'll push himself out of the bed and be like, okay, let's go. I wish you'd called so that we could have advertised it around the home and got as many people in as possible. He's kind of like a little manager where he wants the joy he gets out of me coming and making music isn't the music. He loves the music, but he more so loves, orchestrating community and getting people into the room, which is something that I never would have expected from him, funnily enough. So now that he's in the nursing home, it's it's kind of it's opened up another side of him that I don't know if he's been able to practice for a while. Where was I? You heard me say Oma and Opa. Yours are Omi and Opie. I'm going to look it up, but that brings it back. Omi and Opie. What nationality is that? Oma and Opa for me is German. There is Oma and Opa is also Dutch, but not in my case. It's only 9:14, but it feels like 12 something. It does feel late. When I had a nap at 7:30 and I napped for 25 minutes because it felt like it was like 10 o'clock. I was beat. Any other Friday, you'd still be at work. Today, you went in early. It messes with your sense of time every time. Ah, that's great. I love that feeling when you feel like you should be working and then you realize you don't need to be working. There's nothing like your body is just like telling you, like, oh, I should be working right now. And then like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, you don't need to work. You don't need to worry about anything. You don't need to get anywhere. You don't need to stress about organizing or doing something. It's all good. You can watch TV and drink beer. You have the time for that right now. So do it. I love that feeling. Making music with him. He really does love it. He's a great client, I would say, as a music therapist, former music therapist. I'll put a drum in front of him, and he's always like, "Oh, I can't play. I can't make music." But as long as the drum is in front of him, if I start to play, he'll reach out and he'll tap, especially with the fast songs. He'll tap along, and it's really really sweet. And like old classic songs that he knows. Like he's German, so he doesn't know a lot of the American songs. Some melodies he'll recognize if they're famous enough, like some Nat King Cole stuff. But if I play like Edelweiss or Silent Night or Oh Holy Night or something, he sings the melody and he like gets operatic when he sings. And he's got a great voice, but I don't know, like his father was a schoolmaster in a little town in Germany. And I think that my Opa picked up that if you can't make if you can't be a virtuoso, then there's no point in making music. I think he picked that up because he has such a passion for music, but he only listens to other people. He has an insecurity about making music himself. I asked him like if he wanted to play piano. He's like, no, I can't play piano. I was just like, well, just like play the black music. No. But he's got a great voice. He's got an impeccable singing voice for for a 95-year-old too, no less. Like that's pretty amazing. He's singing on pitch and he's got like good vibrato. And nursing homes are really boring, no lie. Worked at one for a summer and you can feel how bored the people there are, even though you do your best to help keep them active and entertained. Oh, yeah. I hear you, Bjorn. I was working in nursing homes for 4 years, and it was like I was a music therapist. I thought I had it sweet. Like, it was one of those jobs that you tell people, like, oh, I'm a music therapist. They're like, what? That's amazing. You make music for a living? Oh, you're so lucky. That's so great. And yes, I was very lucky, and I had a very, I had a wonderful time, a lot of the time. And it was very very rewarding, helping people, making people smile and sing and engage and give them something for that very dull boring time. But it leached something out of me. I Working in nursing homes, just like going in every day and like the amount of energy it took to get them engaged too, because they're just sitting there like not doing anything for so long. They get used to that, and then when someone comes and it's in their face, I'm like, let's make music. It's kind of like, what music? It takes a while to get them to come out of their shells and engage. So it just was like I came home, I was wiped every night. Invictus really helped me through that, actually, because I felt like I didn't have a lot of creative outlets. As a music therapist in nursing homes, you do a lot of singing familiar songs to the elderly. I could have added creative components, but I couldn't. I don't know. I wasn't motivated to or inspired to find that, and I didn't want to push myself to be inspired all the time. Like some days I would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that." that's the thing with inspiration in nursing homes, is that you get these ideas and you try to be creative, especially at first. Like, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna try like this new intervention and then this and that. But it's an uphill battle, because as sad as it is, like, these people aren't getting better. Um in some cases, in some rare cases, they are. And so, like, having therapists there to help them, maybe work through depression, anxiety, or through physical pain, helping them to walk again, like, that is definitely something that's worth pursuing. But a lot of them, like you're just maintaining their intellectual level, you're maintaining um their body motions if it's a physical group. You aren't improving, you aren't working towards a goal like you would be with a kid. So all attempts at creativity, all attempts at trying new things to help them, a lot of them just do not work. So you either need to be a very, very determined, driven person to not let that affect you, which there are those music therapists out there. They do exist and they are amazing. They're incredible. Such um warm, kind, like really pure human beings that I've met, and I went to school with some of them, and they're just absolutely incredibly wonderful human beings. I'm not one of those people. I've created other ways, I guess, but for that, like, it just, like, I just felt so defeated after 4 years, so I needed to change things up. Work ramble, work, 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 work. Let me leave 3 hours early. Wasn't working much anyways, hence getting packing done before the stream. Oh, work let you leave early. I see. Nice. That's awesome. Watch Justin reads comments and drink beer. Well, cheers to that second part. Your mom is 89 and still somewhat active. That's fantastic. It's like, I don't know what it is. I mean, my opa pretty much um has lived off of butter bread and like toast and jam for the past like 15 years. Like, that's definitely exaggeration, but every meal for a while. Oh, and Jamaican patties. He wasn't like malnourished. Like, we made sure that he had like food in his house, but like, he didn't eat a lot of vegetables, and um like, his stove like didn't work for a long time, so like making like good, like hearty meals was always difficult at his place. So like, nutritionally, like I don't know like how he's doing as well as he is. He's definitely not eating as well as he could be. And yet, 95 years old, still got his mind about him. He says he's getting dementia, but the only reason he believes that is because he's been reading a German book written in like the 70s about health and mental diseases, with the text is like this big, and he's like reading the chapter. It's like old fashioned, like um Mayo Clinic, or Googling your like conditions. It's like that. He's like, oh, I think I've got this. I've got Alzheimer's. And they're like, okay, well, you can read that pretty well. So I mean, I don't know. Like, if you do, then I think it's probably pretty mild. So he's like really with it. Exercise didn't exercise a lot in the past 15 years again, but I mean, um he hasn't really been eating like horribly either. Like, he's had a very good like neutral diet, just not a lot of vegetables. Yeah, so he's at 95 years old. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if he has a secret. I don't know if it's just genetics. I hope it's genetics, from his side at least. Um let us see. Let's keep going. Do, 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 do. People can only take seeing so much suffering if they want to stay human. Yeah, I mean the suffering and the loneliness, like the loneliness was big, and not being able to do more because I didn't have enough energy for it was I didn't feel like a good person. Like I wanted to get out of there afterwards, and it didn't feel good. Like I would do like the work that I needed to do, and I would never feel like resentful towards the residents, but I just felt like I couldn't help them the way that I wished that they could be helped, I guess. And that kind of was sad for me. Your grandma is in that state Justin is talking about now, where she doesn't want to do anything other than sit at home and do nothing. And it's so depressing when you remember the person that she used to be. Yeah, I mean that's tough. I can kind of understand not wanting to do anything, but it's yeah, I guess she watches a lot of TV, listens to the radio. And it's hard too because like it's hard to develop new habits and traditions. I'm surprised that my Opa wants to do music as much as he is. Like every week I come in, he's like, "Oh, music. Let's go. Let's make music." And when I first started doing it, I was like, "Do you want to do this? Do you want to try it?" I wasn't sure how it would go, and like he's taking it on. It's kind of hard for a lot of elderly people, from what I've experienced in nursing homes, to try new things. Like you're like, "Oh, let's try doing a crossword. Let's try doing this," and like a lot of it is just like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm just gonna stay in my room." Um, that was tough too. Is seeing a lot of people who just wanted to stay in their rooms, like you say, Bjorn. Jamaican patties, yes. So my Oma and Opa's nurse is Jamaican, and she would bring Jamaican patties for them. I like them. Yeah, once old people get access to medical journals, heavy damage control. Well, I mean, he's in a nursing home now, so I mean, he's like, they can work with that. How did this get a downvote? Because I'm not reading enough. Probably. Oh well. Not everybody's gonna like me rambling and talking about random shit. It might take me a while to get to the comment. I'm there. I'm at the bottom. Maybe someone hit the wrong button. Maybe it was me. Maybe I accidentally downloaded it. I don't think so though. Yep, one downvote. Well, what a Grinch. What a Scrooge. Yes. All right. What do you say we read some Harlan Guthrie, eh? So she watches TV and she reads gossip magazines. Ooh. Like about the Queen and Kate Middleton and the rebellious, what is it, Meg Merkel? Guthrie High! Whoop, 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 whoop! So I know this story pretty well now because, well, actually, I don't know if I should spoil anything, but because you're watching Early Christmas Present, I don't know if Harlan has shared it yet, but I recorded this, I narrated this one already, and then Joe, Harlan, and Henry came over a couple weeks ago, and they did the voices. They provided the voices. So there is a recording floating around that might be shared with the Patreons and might be shared with the whole group. I don't know exactly what Harlan's plans are for it, but it's a short story. It's this. So, yeah, you get to see that. The River by Harlan Guthrie. It was a dull gray sky that greeted Francis Porter when he opened his eyes. The soft splashing of water against the hull of the ship had woken him from a dream in which he had been falling. As was most often the case, he had woken before ever hitting the ground, and as his heart raced, he stayed laying, listening to the churning water wheel of the large steamboat, watching the sun desperately try to find space between the canvas of gray clouds that fit tightly above him. After a moment, Francis sat up and turned on the worn wooden bench, setting his dove-tipped shoes on the deck of the ship. For a moment, he felt a bit uneasy. His sudden upright posture had spun his eyes as the ship rocked rhythmically to a small barrage of waves. The sensation passed quickly, and after a deep breath, Francis stood up, stretched, and walked towards the railing that overlooked the lower deck of the ship. The boat was simple, unassuming by design, and those who boarded were always traveling downriver, towards the setting sun. She offered mostly standing room, save for a few benches, which were rarely occupied as the journey itself was never as long as expected. The white painted iron that comprised most of the ship frame was chipped and flaking in the busiest spots. The stairways, the railings, and the bow, where most passengers tended to stand during the trip, anxiously picking at and peeling the paint, exposing the pale iron bones beneath. The sky groaned, and behind the curtain of clouds the sun began its retreat, giving way to the darkness, as Francis reached the long rail of the top deck and set his palms carefully on the cold, varnished wood. There were maybe 25 other passengers on the ship, most of the deck below him, which gave plenty of room for him to observe unimpeded. He took a deep breath and felt the early evening air fill his lungs. The sweet fragrance of autumn leaves still on the wind, with just a hint of ash, was almost comforting as he looked slowly through the other passengers on the deck below. Men in hats, much like the ones he had left behind, a sea of waistcoats and ties, dresses and canes, and all carried themselves with the same air of uneasiness, like grazing herds of cows sensing the impending storm, all waiting to be led into the barn for safekeeping. "Mind if I join?" A calm, quiet voice from behind Francis cut through the churn of water and caught him off guard. He turned around to see a young woman in her early 30s dressed in a simple, faded blue dress. She wore a cross around her neck, and her hair was piled high, pinned beneath a hat that matched the faded blue of her dress. Her gloved hands pressed softly together in an unassuming and inviting way, much like a priest offering comfort. "Oh, of course," Francis said as he shifted down the large railing, offering his spot to the woman, moving more as a welcoming gesture than a necessity. She smiled and stood beside him, taking the same deep breath he had moments ago. Francis buttoned his coat and leaned forward onto his elbows so that he was hunched over the railing. His thinning brown coat and white dress shirt made him appear much lower in stature than the passengers below, and nowhere near as elegant as the woman next to him. "Shame the weather doesn't want to play," she said with a smirk, glancing up towards the sky, which responded with a growl of thunder, deep and guttural, echoing across the sky. "It really does," Francis said as he began searching his pockets. Bemused, the woman pulled out a small handbag, removed a thin pack of cigarettes, and offered one. "Thank you." Francis nodded as he removed one and placed it in his lips. Before he could, she offered a light, and as he took a long drag, the orange flame flickered upon his face in the now mostly faded daylight. She nodded and turned her attention back to the people on the deck below. "They look easy to spook, wouldn't you say?" she said playfully. "Ever played mean tricks like that as a boy?" "A few," Francis said without hesitation. "We were all young once." She smiled, her pale eyes becoming bright for a moment. "In fact," Francis continued, "I remember one time my neighbor, Mr. Bernard, was eagerly awaiting a package. My younger sister Cleo and I knew that he was excited for it, so we each took turns rapping on his door at various times that day. Each time, Mr. Bernard getting more and more steamed as the mysterious knocking that supposedly was for no reason at all." "Oh, my goodness, that is cruel." She laughed and put a gloved hand to her chest. "We caused quite a ruckus that day," Francis said with a concerned tone. "And what came of Mr. Bernard that day? Did he finally answer when the package arrived? She asked. His face fell slightly as he recalled. You know, I don't remember. I think he suspected something and ended up telling our parents. Francis spoke flatly as he dismissively tapped the ash tip off his cigarette. Parents ruin all the fun, she said with a frown as she turned back towards the railing and away from Francis, who was watching the ash float down towards the lower deck. The river began to tighten on either side as the darkness finally closed in. The growl of thunder now an expected guest, as the purple glow of lightning revealed the cracks in the sky above. Just as the night began to offer its fullest black, the ship's Edison bulbs flicked on, bathing the two in a soft amber light. I suppose we're almost there, Francis said as he drew the last of his cigarette and snubbed it on the railing. Yes, she said, and for a moment she made a motion as if to leave, but then stopped herself. I suppose I didn't tell you my name, she murmured bashfully, but before she could continue, Francis cut her off. You needn't to, miss, he said, still smothering the last of the embers from his cigarette. I know your name. The boat vibrated loudly, shaking its iron frame as the captain applied pressure to the brake, slowing the large wheel that drove them down the river. A few passengers below began to look panicked as the firelight on the riverside came into view. The woman's smile faded as her posture dropped a bit. In the yellow light of the deck, her face looked different, almost clinical. Francis watched the shoreline make its approach as she leaned back on the railing and drew a deep breath. It's your sister, then, is it? She asked flatly, her gaze meeting Francis's as he turned towards her. For a long beat, he waited before answering. Cleo. Yes, he said, his voice cracking ever so slightly before turning away again. She sighed, and they watched the people below, now in a flurry of commotion. Some fighting, some crying, others scrambling for the back of the boat as if being farther from the shore meant they could stay. The large iron gates of the river opened, revealing the abyssal black beyond as people began leaving the boat and heading towards it. The woman looked back towards Francis and said, I could sense you didn't belong here. Her eyes searched his face, and then she continued, almost with regret. I will grant you that you seem to be the first that knows who I am. I will give you credit and say that you have a certainty behind your eyes that I have rarely seen, that you are sure of yourself. However, she continued, her brow furrowing in sadness, I've seen many try what you're trying. I have seen the strongest men of their time travel beyond those gates, never to return, never to achieve what they hope to achieve in bringing a loved one back. The boat was almost completely empty as the final passengers on the main deck exited the ship onto the docks, passing through the iron gate beyond. You will not succeed at bringing your sister home. Francis, who had been watching the passengers leave the boat and move through the gate beyond, met her eyes for a moment before moving past her towards the stairs down to the main deck. He began down, but stopped, as if fighting the urge to say more. You misunderstand me, nymph. I do not wish to bring my sister home. He paused at the steps leading down. I intend to make sure she stays here. As Francis left the boat and passed beyond the gates that faded into an abyssal dark, the ship left the docks and began back up the river, ready to carry the next load of departed souls to the underworld. The end. What was that? Oh, you got more calls, Chip? No! I'm sorry it's not working out for you, Chip, but I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you are hanging out and chatting with people and getting to know us and spending time. Thank you. It is. It is a Harlan ending. It's like he really likes to set up an expectation and then swing around for a dark ending. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think he's got a I think he's trying to kind of find the best interpretation of that type of ending, you know? He's really working on his writing, and I think he's got so much potential as a writer. And I say that from the experience of someone who reads a lot of not so good stuff that makes a lot of money. um he's a really good writer, and he's got a good, I think that his strengths, I would say, would be dialogue. I think he's a natural for natural dialogue. Um Also, like he's got some tones. Every now and then he'll go into, quite often he'll go into a really nice vivid setting description, which I think is something he's really good at as well. Does he write most of the stories we all play? Well, he runs most of the stories. So yes, but he doesn't write the ones that Joe and I run. Like whatever I run, I write it. Sometimes it's not really written down at all. Sometimes it's mostly improvised and then it changes. That happens a lot, where like I'll write down like a lot of things that happen and then it'll change so much. But I love that. I like it when what I have planned changes, because the only reason that I'm going to change something that I have planned is if it's better. And so often playing with people like Joe and Chris and Harlan and Mike and Alex, like they'll come up with things that, you know, I don't expect them to, and I'm just like, in the moment, oh yeah, that's better. We're gonna go with that. That is now what the demigod Lich King is doing. That's his intention. So Chris was in the YouTube chat. Oh, nice. He was the one who didn't like it. Oh no, I missed him. I there he is. It is lovely. Oh, well, he's listening. He must have heard us talking about his setup at home. Well, it's a good thing I didn't talk about all the bad things. No, just kidding. Do we have plans on visiting Deadlands Reloaded? I'd love to. I think Chris would like to. I think Chris has a lot of things prepared for that story and that world that we never got to in the first campaign because it was so open and there were so many directions we could take. So yeah, I don't think it did. I think he's still got a lot of material for it. The question is when would that be possible? I'm wondering whether or not we'll have to talk and see whether or not he'd be interested in running maybe like a 5-parter over the summer or something. With Chris, I mean, it comes down to how busy he is, and he's got a lot of amazing things happening in his life right now, and it's hard to balance everything and then, you know, do Invictus as well on the Wednesdays, which our lives look very different than they did 4 years ago. 4 years ago? 5 years ago? How long has it been? 4.5, I think. Jeez, Louise. Jeez, Louise. Yeah. Yeah. So I would love it. I would love to get back to that. Play. Oh, what is my character's name again? The Huckster. Louis Verville. Too much adulting can't be good. Yeah, I don't know, Chris, if you're listening, you're adulting too much. Less adulting. Well, he's got a kid. He's got an adult, and he's a teacher. That's like double adulting. But actually, no. I think that being a teacher is keeping him connected to like the younger crowd. So he's like cooler because of it. Like he comes and he like talks to like about like what the kids are doing, and then he knows these terms like flossing. And I'm like, what is that? I'm very out of touch. I'm extremely out of touch. Jeez, Louise, get a hunk of that cheese. Get a hunk of that cheese for me, Louise. You better. You better get me that feta. Downvote. Oh. When he runs a game, the teacher comes out. How do you do? How do you do, fellow? I love Steve Buscemi. I think he just seems like such a stand-up guy. He's just got such a good like sense of humor, so genial and just like, hey, this is me. Yeah, I noticed. Yeah, like Chris has a teacherly aura, which I think helps him a lot in commanding groups of um, people who are easily distracted. Um, so one could even say that Invictus was great practice for him becoming a teacher because that's literally what he was doing. It was running games for very distractible individuals. Me, Harlan, Alex is slightly distractible sometimes, I would say. I'm very distractible though. What was I even talking about? I just like my mind, my thoughts. I have a very, very hard time getting away from all the mental chatter that happens. Hard to stay present. Um, yeah. What are we talking about? Who am I? Where are we going? Should I read another story? I'll read one more. I don't think I'm going to read this Magi one. I'm not feeling it. I don't know. It just seems very religious. Maybe it's not. Let's see. What's the last line? Of all who give and receive, such as they are the wisest, everywhere they are wisest, they are the babe in the manger. Yeah, it's all about the three wise men and how they were the origin of giving gifts. Eh, eh. Oh yeah, I think that's probably the highlight, like the one of the crowned Invictus moments was David zoning out in Star Wars. Did did David freeze? Did David? Oh, so good. So good. Okay. Well, I'm going to do one more. Okay. It's been about 2 hours, 90% of which was just me reading comments, which is fantastic. I really appreciate you guys coming and spending time with me and just talking, just, talking about yourselves and sharing. I really appreciate each and every one of you being here. And if you didn't take part in the chat and you just listened, thank you as well. I hope that you got something out of it. And I hope that someday you will join us on the Discord. There is no link to the Discord. But if somebody was able to post that in the YouTube chat, if they haven't already, that would be fantastic. I'm not sure who all is watching right now. Let me look. Am I even live? Where am I? Who am I? Oh, 10 viewers. Yeah. Okay. Let's do one more. And so this one, I'm going to put the music back on. So this music that I posted is a live fireplace. Well, the fireplace isn't live. I think it's like live on the fireplace channel, but there's like people talking about it. And there's some comments. One says, "The earth is flat. NASA lies. Research flat earth." Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. If the earth is flat, then how is Santa at the North Pole? Right? No poles if the earth's flat. Boom. Got served. All right, I'm going to do one more narration. Let us see here. Oh, true. Well, thank you. If it does work, then wonderful. If it doesn't work, then it's all good. Or I can, I'll just do it. I don't think I'm not even sure that there's anybody who's watching that isn't, but I will copy this. There we go. That should do it. Beautiful. All right. So this one's definitely a story that you want to get that Christmas music rolling in the background. It's more of a poem than a story. It's called The Night Before Christmas. I always have to check myself, make sure I don't say Nightmare Before Christmas, because that's something entirely different. What's this? What child is this? What child is this? The child is everywhere. Okay. Gotta pull it up. There it is. Oh, teachervision.com. There we go. 'Twas the Night Before Christmas by Clement Clark Moore. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma, in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver, so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. On Zia, on Chris Sparks, on Godpool, on Mervyn, on Carly, on Johnny, on Bjorn and Kellen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all! As the dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the house top the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. And then, in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my hand and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur, from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him, in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team, gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Ramadan, whatever you celebrate. Happy that. Merry Christmas. I hope you guys have had fun chilling here. I had a great time. I had such a blast chatting with you guys and hearing about your take on the very first story there, and everybody talking about their grandparents and their parents and their family and what their Christmas looks like. It's really nice. It's really nice. You guys really make the Invictus stream what it is. So thank you very much for all of your involvement throughout the year, all of the support that you've given us and each other. You are, each and every one of you, outstanding human beings. I'm so happy to have you all in my life. As sentimental as that was, it's a Christmas chill kind of mellow night, so you gotta get sentimental sometimes. So yeah, thank you very much, you guys. You guys are fantastic. It's been an incredible year. I'm not sure if I'm going to be on the stream next week. I think Joe and Harlan are going to be streaming some Call of Cthulhu, which is going to be very cool. A Boxing Day Cthulhu. So thank you once again, Langdon, Carly. Oh wow, the live fireplace stream is playing Auld Lang Syne now, so that's kind of perfect. Bjorn, Mike, Kyle, Le Chip Beef, Chris Sparks, John Dunbar, Aisha. Hope the painting's going well. Thank you all once again, and have a very Merry Christmas. All right. Gute Nacht.